about her crowdfunding campaigning, and she's going to talk about the theme which is relevant to all of us, which is legacy.
Thank you.
Emily.
Sometimes when I'm falling asleep, there are these questions that pop up in my mind. Things like, did I remember to turn the oven off? When is that bill really due? Other times it's things like, what kind of a life do I want to live? What do I want the world to be like? What's my purpose? What's my legacy? You may or may not be familiar with more of my story, but my name is Emily Hunt, and I'm currently campaigning for the UK's first crowd-funded private prosecution of a rapist. In the last 6 months, I've raised more than, well, nearly £26,000. If somebody would just give me £40, I can say more than £26,000, and it would make this bit way better. So nearly £26,000 from over 1,100 people. And I actually expect to bring my case to trial before the end of this year, which is just amazing. In addition to that, I'm also working with Parliament to help make sure that it's illegal to video somebody naked without their consent. Usually, when I stand up in front of a room like this and I talk about my story and I talk about what happened to me, I talk about things like resilience, overcoming adversity, how putting one foot in front of the other every day can actually get you through it, can help change things. I tell a story about how I have this one friend who insists that resilience is spelled E-M-I-L-Y. But I want to talk to you about something a little bit different. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately, actually, and that's legacy. What it all means, what all of this has made me think the point of being here is. And there's also something that I think you can help me with. 8 years ago, I became a mother. And it took me a little while to get the hang of it, between the spit up and the burping and the balancing work with sleepless nights and childcare nightmares. I wasn't really thinking about what it meant, what I was leaving to my daughter. I was thinking about survival and maybe not falling asleep at work. But then as routine started to come back and sleep started to come back into my life a bit, those questions started to pop up again, right? What does it all mean? What's my purpose? What's my legacy? What am I leaving to my daughter? I don't have much. Life in London's expensive. I've got this little house and a bit in the bank, but what I'm leaving to my daughter, it's not really money. By way of legacy, all I really have to leave to her is the world, how it is now, but more importantly, how it can be. And that's where I need your help. Is everybody okay? Okay. I need your help because I've realized I can't necessarily change the world by myself. I want you to think. If you had 12 months to make a measurable, positive change in the world, make a difference, what would you do? How would you make that change? I know what I'd do, kind of doing it now, but what would you do? Now, I'm not asking you to leap up out of your chair, give up your career, your job, your home, go move to some far-flung place and change everything about your life just to change the world. Because I have a secret for you. One I have learned in 6 hard months of working to improve the UK's criminal justice system. 6 months of working with all kinds of people to try and change the world. This secret that says that you can make a difference just by being you. But I'll come back to that. I think about legacy a lot these days, more than just those thoughts in the back of my mind at night. I think about it maybe more than I should, maybe more than you do at night. I think about legacy a lot because 2 years ago I nearly died. And I didn't nearly die from a car accident or cancer or even a falling piano. I nearly died because I tried to kill myself. And the reason I tried to kill myself is why I'm trying to change the world. And it's really why I need your help to do that. You see, 3 years ago, I was at lunch with my dad, and I was at this crazy moment in my life where everything was changing, like everything. I'd lost my job. My divorce had finally come through. And I think for most people in that moment, they would have been terrified, like utterly terrified. But I was sitting there talking with my dad, literally brimming with hope, because every moment was that next moment of the rest of my life. I could just feel it. There was all this joy, all this hope, all this excitement on what was coming next. My whole life was in front of me. And I sat there talking with my dad, eating this ridiculous Italian lunch, having a fabulous time. And he told me all about how he wanted me to get married again and have more babies and, have an easier life, maybe be someone's housewife. I told him about the job interview I was going to the next day for the big job, about a guy I was going to go on a date with, and about just all this joy and excitement and hope I had. We're sitting at this table in this sun-filled restaurant, talking and talking and talking, and then nothing. It's blank. We're sitting in this restaurant, having lunch. The restaurant kind of filled up a bit. I guess my dad left for the airport, and nothing. It's blank. 5 hours after my last memory, I woke up. Cold and not wearing any clothes on a hotel bed. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how I got there. And as I looked over my bare shoulder, I could see this man next to me on the bed. It was a man I'd never seen before. I was petrified. I realized pretty quickly that I'd been drugged, and I found out a few days later that I'd been raped. All of that hope I had on that early May day, all of that joy and excitement and that brimming full of life, that version of me died that night on that hotel bed. I don't even really remember the woman I was before that night. She's been gone for so long. Perhaps worse, I don't even remember the woman from the few days after the rape, the woman who had the naive hope that the police and the criminal justice system would take care of that rapist. The police were called immediately. They had me, the rapist, and the hotel room. I thought I did everything right. But even though the police recommended to the Crown Prosecution Service that they charge the man who raped me, the CPS decided to not go forward. As happens in 88% of rape cases in the UK, the CPS does not take them forward after the police has recommended charging. And that decision to not go forward, that nearly broke me. But a few months later, when I actually got my hands on some of the evidence, the toxicology report and a few details, I realized that actually it wasn't that there wasn't enough evidence. The police and the CPS just didn't like me enough. I wasn't a worthy victim to them. Finding that out, that did break me. And so I went back to that same hotel, that hotel where I'd woken up next to somebody I'd never seen before, and I tried to die. Because I couldn't imagine ever having hope again. I couldn't imagine ever recovering. I couldn't imagine ever being okay. And I thought that in dying, the police and the CPS would have to rethink how they dealt with victims. I thought the only way I could change the world was to leave it. As I lay dying, I had this last moment thought of my daughter, of leaving her, of the reality of that I'd be leaving her with nothing, no legacy to hang on to, a world no better than the one I walked into. And I just reached for help. And in that moment of clarity, I realized in death, the CPS and the police weren't going to do anything. They weren't going to care. I was just one more person that they didn't have to pay attention to. The only way for me to change the world is to stay and to fight. That's where you guys come in. This was the secret. I was going to tell you how you can help change the world without giving up your day job. What I have learned in 6 months of standing in front of crowds, of answering emails from people who've experienced things that I've experienced, of having over 1,100 people give me money between £3 and £1,000. Literally, stranger gave me £1,000. cool. And a troll gave me £5, still using it. The secret to this, what I've learned, it's my supporters who are the ones changing the world. You, all of you, have the power to change the world just by supporting someone else. Just by supporting someone else. Go home. Go and GoFundMe, Crowd Justice, look at your local news. Find someone doing something you believe in and send them a note to say you're with them. Join their newsletter, send them some support, and then spread the word. More than being the change you want to see in the world, spread it. Get out there and talk about it. I cannot say enough how much each note of support I have received in the last 6 months has meant everything. Has gotten me out from under my duvet when I didn't think it was possible. Has gotten me standing right here, doing what I'm doing, trying to change the world. If you want to know more about me, you can go to emilyinpublic.com, click campaign to find out about the UK's first crowd-funded private prosecution of a rapist. But more than that, go change the world. For yourself, for the people you love, for me, be our legacy.